beef in mulled red wine spices over polenta with cipollini onions and chili and gremolata. That's a piece of chuck, or more specifically, the blade. See how lean it is? Buying whole pieces and butchering it yourself allows you to control fat content. It also gives you the opportunity to get rid of that sinew that's never going to get tender no matter what you do. Just cut it out completely. Big cubes of meat with less fat and less connective tissue. That's some quality stew meat. Seasoned with salt and pepper. And guajillo chilies, which are going to give us a deep, rich red color and heat. Seeds removed. Lean beef, seared in batches, infused with garlic flavor as we go. We're not fully cooking the beef, we're just searing it. At the same time, toast those chilies to liven them up. We can toast those Szechuan peppercorns we're going to use later too. Chili flavor boosted, and you can smell those Szechuan peppercorns too. Set those aside to cool, and add those chilies to boiling water to loosen up. Color is flavor. Look at that. Those chilies plump up quick. Since we're already here, might as well use that boiling water to our advantage. Searing that beef in batches helps build the fond. £2.5 pounds in 2 batches. It only takes a minute to loosen those cipollini skins. See how juicy that meat is? We want that to burn on the pan and let that fond continue to build. Just look at that beef. We're seared. Beef comes out, and warm winter spices, including cinnamon, star anise, and clove, go in. Now deglaze with red wine. Lots of red wine. Picking up all that flavor. Once the booze cooks off, you can add the meat back. A couple of bay leaves, and the raw earthiness of piloncillo. Brown sugar will work, but piloncillo is much less refined. And we're getting tang 2 ways. Tamarind paste and balsamic vinegar. You don't need dark soy, but it's going to help this look rich and black. Cover with beef stock, a piece of parchment. We got to give this beef time to get tender. This is when a good blender comes in handy. You want to really let them go. You're not getting that kind of color from powder alone, I can promise you that. Parboiling cipollini helps loosen that thin skin, making them super easy to peel. And preserving most of that onion for your recipe. Cornmeal, masa, polenta. See how coarse that polenta is? You could use cornmeal, but it's much finer in texture. And masa, forget it. Masa's too fine and made with lime, and we're not looking for that in this recipe. Polenta's 4-to-1 liquid to water if you want it to set up, 5-to-1 if you want it to stay creamy. For this, I prefer chicken base over salt. It's got more flavor than salt. A piece of potato will add natural viscosity, and chilies will give us that rich spiciness we're looking for. That's going to make a nice bath for those cipollini. A pinch of oregano and sun-dried tomatoes, the raisins of the vegetable world. Spicy red onions. Those aren't going to suck. The first hour, braised under cover. That beef isn't tender quite yet, but it'll get there. And at the same time, this all needs to reduce. A guarantee to preventing lumpy polenta is starting in cold liquid. It's a 4-to-1 ratio if you want that polenta to set up and cut it into squares, or 5-to-1 if you want it to be creamy like us. Now you can turn your pan on. Never go too far when you're making polenta. You got to keep stirring as you go. Not non-stop, but you got to stick around. Orange peel, or in this case, mandarin peel. A serrated peeler makes it even easier. We want the peel, not the white pith. A hand-chopped gremolata. That's a gentler way of dealing with garlic than with a grater. But you don't want those pieces too big. A microplane will make that orange peel too fine as well. You got to hand chop if you want the best gremolata. And there's something Christmassy about rosemary too. The crunch of pistachios and a base of fresh parsley, or Italian tabbouleh, always dry, more like garlicky salad crumble. Remember those Szechuan peppercorns we toasted? Those are going to give us numbing spice. Add that to your gremolata and smoke it. That's not your standard gremolata. The polenta's absorbed all that liquid. Now you can't leave it alone. But it's not done quite yet. This is getting finished with cold butter for extra creaminess. And a beautiful sheen. Look at that. Now that beef is tender. But that sauce needs a little something. Just a tiny bit of cornstarch slurry, so it sticks to everything. Now that sauce is right. And look at that meat. See how tender? Those ciopillinis are braised, the potato broke down, and it's full of chili flavor. Creamy polenta. And beef cooked in mulled red wine.
That transformed that chunk of meat, that's for sure, into something beautiful. Oh man.
Give me a little extra sauce, come on.
Look at that sauce.
Some of those chili onions. Finish with gremolata.
I love the textures of it all. Rich, sweet, spicy, tender shredded meat, and packed full of flavor.
What's not to like?
Sweet onions soaked in red chili sauce and sun-dried tomatoes.
They're spicy.
It just all goes together so nicely. And you get the little rando crunch of a pistachio here and there.
All those cultures come together. Mexican chili, Szechuan peppercorns, and Italian gremolata with polenta.
I mean, that is just a rich, warm dish.